Grace and peace, family. Grace and peace. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. My hotel. Namaste. Free the land, beloved. Come on in, come on in, come on in. My name is Vicki Dillard, and I am a media personality and a spiritual teacher. I have been seen over many years on several platforms, prominent platforms, and multiple networks that I've helped to build, bring credibility and extraordinary profit to over the years. But right now, you are tuned into the Vicki Show here at VickiDillard.tv, which is my personal channel, which I'm giving more attention to lately because of the upcoming changes to my broadcasting and programming schedule. You will still see me in other fields, but you certainly will see and have actually already seen some changes on certain platforms. So I always like to make that known. And I make that known because so many of you who have watched me over the years on other platforms have been looking for me. How do I know? Because you've been emailing me, and some of you have found me in other places and wondering what in the world is going on. And so I'll let you know that now that you can find me here on my own platform weekly to do live content, even though you can still access my content on other platforms. More coming about that soon. Okay, thank you so much for joining us. I see you, Josh. He said, let's go. I see you, Joe. I see you, Damon. I see you, Lisa. I see you, Carl. I see you, Sheena. Shalom, beloved. Beloved. So I have a little bit of a ritual. And on the count of three, I want everybody to hit that thumbs up button and share. We do that in the beginning, beloved, because it helps us to activate, in some cases, the algorithm so that other folks will know that we're here. Allegedly, they tell us that's what that does. So it's not just about, oh, wait to the end and then, support the broadcast by liking it. No, we're trying to be strategic. And we want other folks to know about it. Why? Because we know that we're alternative Black media. We're using other forms of media to reach the world. And so if you know that if they're already censoring us, suppressing us, intimidated by us, mad at us, and trying to invoke what's the word I'm looking for? They try to invoke all forms of punishment, punitive, that's the word, punitive measures to prevent voices like ours. Of course, we want to be on top of that and make sure that other folks can hear about us. So at the bottom of your screen, if you click the link and copy the link, you can also share it on social media, your social media platforms. I don't care how big or small, you never know who will see what and when. And you can text it to someone, you can email it to someone as well, okay? On the count of three, let's hit that thumbs up button. Everybody be sure to hit subscribe too, okay? 1, 2, 3, thumbs up. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Share, share, share. Share, 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 share. All right, family. Let's get to where we're going with the quickness. Can you help me do that? Thank you so much. I want to pull up a clip. Give me just a moment. I want to pull up a clip because Michelle Obama is back in the news. Chief law member Michelle Obama is back in the news. Now, for those of you that don't know, I did not vote for her or I did not vote for her husband when he ran for office either time. I knew well before he took office that he was only going to be a mascot for white supremacy. So of course I was not going to do that. Spirit made that abundantly clear. I spoke that out to a number of my spiritual students and associates many, many years ago at the time. And so of course I did not vote for him early on. So that was obvious to me, the agenda by putting him up there. I've given you all an entire breakdown using resources from different Black scholars to show in no limit of time that Barack Obama was funded by folks like David Geffen, who was considered to be one of the number one enemies of Michael Jackson. And some have credibly speculated, some of our scholars have actually said that they consider him to be the lead up, and some believe involved in some of the planning in our brother's unaliving. Folks have certainly drawn connections to the fact that he was directly responsible. Some of our Black scholars, that is, and I give you the receipts on that. And did concerning Michael Jackson being set up and inappropriately accused of actions with young children and all this other kind of stuff. So that was just a lot of stuff that the media did engage in warfare that had everything to do with the very people that ended up having a direct hand, a large and disproportionate hand in the funding and support of Barack Obama. Even when Barack Obama said he was not going to run for president, this guy, David Geffen, was the impetus for forcing him to run for president, even when at the time he did not want to. I broke that down and brought it to mainstream news using sourcing from different Black scholars. So this is very, very important that you understand just how dirty and deep this cabal that the Obamas are involved in. That's just one small example. I'm going to talk briefly about a couple of different things because some of you are unfamiliar with my work. Some of you don't know how your sister been putting it down for many years. And because certain networks where I have given my life force to, because of different reasons, some of my content that I have done for many, many years, a lot of that is not available now, I'm told. These are messages, credible messages that I believe and information I've been given. And so I'm making sure that some of you that don't know me and aren't familiar with my work, that some stuff I'll review, but very briefly. Some of the things that I've been teaching over the years. Now, revealing over the years. But family, one of the things I want you to understand is that when I bring up Michelle Obama, Chief LOM is an acronym, and I talk about this often, that I created years ago, that stands for League of Mammies. And I have explained to you in times past that League of Mammies is a phrase that I came up with. League of Mammies is a phrase that I came up with that has to do with certain Black women who are strategically put in certain positions and platforms in order to do the dirty work of white supremacy. Any military, any government and nation, it's not unusual for them to use spies, right? It's not unusual for them to use infiltrators and agents and saboteurs. They use someone of their own, but they don't. How many of you all know that if you're trying to be a spy in another country, you got to look like the citizens of that country? You don't want to be a sore thumb sticking out and making it absolutely obvious that you don't belong there. So you play a role, you play a part. And one of the biggest things that white supremacy does is they use somebody that looks like us. Did you hear what I said? White supremacy uses folks that look like us. They use individuals who we would deem to be credible. Somebody say Candace Owens. Yes, I consider Candace Owens to be that too. But the Michelle Obamas of the world, the Oprah Winfreys of the world, those types, the Jamil Hills of the world, the Simone Sanders of the world, the Joy Reids of the world, they're even worse. They're even worse because they pretend to be more friendly to Black folks than even Candace Owens does. We're real clear on what side she's on. Somebody talking about Larry Elders. I'm talking specifically about women, families. Pay attention now. I give men that everlasting work, the shucker and jivers, and the Sambos and the raccoons their own name. I'm specifically talking about how they misuse and use Black women because there is a credibility that women have and an ease, a nurturing energy, and a trust factor that they have that even men don't. You follow what I'm saying? God, today I know what I'm talking about. I make distinctions. Y'all know I get on all of them, but don't jump and throw names. Just listen. I know what I'm doing. God, today. Let me call out the enemy and don't throw this off. There's a strategic reason in certain situations that they decide to use a woman to do certain things. Talk Black to me, somebody. I'm talking about the LOMs, the League of Mammies, specifically Black women. They use Black women so that there is a trust factor that we give them. So whatever they support and whatever they tell us, our guard is down in too many cases whenever they endorse something or they instruct us to do something. Are y'all hearing me? It seems less violent when they're involved in violence, and it seems less detrimental. Did you hear what I said? It's not something that one would think that you would need to take real serious yet if she's involved. So these law members, not only do they support white supremacy, but what makes them even more pernicious and disgusting is that not only do they shuck and jive, and not only are they supporters of white supremacy and allies of white supremacy and white supremacists, but they're also there to wag their finger in black folks' faces to diminish any forms of resistance when it comes down to injustice and to get us in line when the white supremacist thinks we're out of line. Do you all understand what I'm talking about? This is very important. Okay, everybody be sure to hit that thumbs up button, share, share, share. Thumbs up, share, share, share. So that's important. Michelle Obama, who is extraordinarily beautiful, extraordinarily melanin, intelligent, and inspiring, and well-spoken, and accomplished, she is one of the most dangerous tools for white supremacy because of the reasons I just mentioned. So years ago, before anybody else was doing, I was calling her out. And it caused me many years ago to have a whole lot of enemies because the average person was stupefied by the embellishment of the White House symbols. And actually, before they got into office, you all were many of our people were already hypnotized by the optics of them being in the White House. Are y'all hearing me today? So this is what makes her particularly dangerous because of those attributes that I just mentioned. And some of you may say, well, they're not that bad, and her and her husband had to do what they had to do because they were in, they're dealing with, national powers, international powers, and, they had to do that because the Republicans were coming against them and this, that, and the third. Let me tell you something. These are the most dangerous to our people. Talk black to me, somebody. And this is the reason why I called them out. And to be honest, it's also a reason why I emphasize why you must nurture your spiritual powers so that we're not always fooled by the things that we can see with our natural eyes and hear with our natural ears. Did you hear what I said? I said it's the reason why we must grow and refine our unseen sensors. This is what's going to give us the edge, because when somebody comes with a mask on, when somebody comes masquerading as something that they actually are not, you can't rely on what they said. They said this, or they look like that. That's a sign of immaturity when that's all we go by. Liars lie. So what? Somebody said something. We got a lot of doppelgangers out there. We got a lot of people that like to copy a lot of folks, people that like to activate other folks' energy and thinking that they somebody. Child, sit down. And some of you that understand or familiar with certain scriptures that you like to quote often and claim the reason why you rock with them because of your Christian morals, which all that's suspect for the most part. Even your Jesus told you there was a difference between a false prophet and a real prophet. Your Jesus told you there's a such thing as a wolf in sheep's clothing. So when I call out the wolf in sheep's clothing, which I did as a trailblazer before most folks were doing it, I was called a hater. I was called somebody that's attacking their own people. It didn't matter how many disclaimers I gave. It didn't matter how much I said, how beautiful they are, how accomplished they are. But with that, that's the very reason why the powers that shouldn't be targeted them for their purpose in the first place. It didn't matter how much I could tell you, how much it was not personal what I was saying about them. Some of you all weren't trying to hear that. I'm a spiritualist. So anytime the Spirit leads me and activates me and nudges me in a particular way, some of us understand that when you're moving by divine energy, you're often light years ahead of those that's listening to you. So folks don't understand what you're saying. So they say all manner of evil against you when they ought not. And they catch up like 10 years later. God today. So enough of that. So now that I'm reminding you of a little bit about the past, I want you to know that the United States' hegemonic system is falling. And the only thing that really revives it is when they get us involved in it so that it can exist another day. And this is another reason why the Obamas are so dangerous and why they were for a minute an effective tool for white supremacy. But folks like us causes their power to diminish. Now watch this. What happened recently? I want you to watch this clip.
Scott Jennings, Nikki Haley has been dealing with the.
Let me 1 second. Well, I want you to watch this clip of Michelle Obama. She did an interview recently, and a clip of the interview has already made the rounds in mainstream media. And I want you to listen to the language that she's using. Remember, a part of political strategy, a part of the psychology, what makes predatory and exploitative forces effective is because they understand you better than you understand yourself sometimes. They understand how to use music and color and emotion. They know things about you that you don't even know about yourself. They understand these triggers and these impulses, and they use them to guide you, to move you. I love you back, BPR. They use it to guide you and to use you for their own purposes. And because your emotions are so powerful, many times they don't even try to appeal to your intellect, because some of y'all ain't thinking no way when it come down to the white supremacists. Singing Amazing Grace to let them pimp you in your church to campaign when they don't promise to do anything of substance for you. Allowing them to come to your churches to cook fish and chicken. That don't require a lot of logic and thought and intelligence. But they know that has meaning for you, so they appeal to that. Getting emotional in church, singing Amazing Grace. I'm not doing that just to mock my own people because of traditions of hymns that we sing that can be extraordinarily moving. I come from that tradition. But it is nothing to brag about, and it's nothing to talk politely about when it is used for pernicious purposes, when it is used for your undoing. Copyright Act of 1976 allowances made for purposes such as fair use, criticism, comment, news reporting, and research. Listen to what Michelle Obama says recently.
It was very significant. She's raising some alarm bells as far as 2024 is concerned.
Listen to the language, alarm bells.
Says she's terrified, her word, terrified about the election. Listen to this.
What's going to happen in this next election? I am terrified about what could possibly happen because our leaders matter. Who we select, who speaks for us, who holds that bully pulpit. It affects us in ways that sometimes I think people take for granted.
Family, I want you to listen to that one more time. Everybody be sure as you come in, hit that thumbs up button, share, okay? Be sure to hit the subscribe button and be sure to hit receive all notifications. I hear from people all the time talking about how they unsubscribe you. They never get the notifications. I know you're not getting the notifications, so be on the lookout for me. That's another reason why I ask and remind you to join my email list from my website at Vicki planet.com. That's one of the ways that we can stay directly in touch. And that's how you know what's going on with me. And in the event something happens with some of these platforms, this is how I will be able to contact you with our texting and with our email list. Are y'all hearing me today? In fact, let me put my website in the chat. So make sure, family, that you're on my email list, okay? And also, if you want to join my new monthly mastermind school, that's called the Vicki Dillard Mystery School. I am no longer associated with Dr. Boyce, Fly New Queen, any of that stuff, any of the associations and partnerships. My items in my name. Some of you tell me that you're being charged for stuff that you shouldn't be charged for. I'm not connected to that. I've been restricted from certain things, and a lot of other legal and economic things that have taken place. I'm only mentioning that because some of you all have been affected by some of that in terms of wondering, where's Vicki? And does Vicki have anything to do with these courses that folks are still selling? I do not. So I have my own spiritual school now called the Vicki Dillard Mystery School. I put the link right here in the chat. And this is also the same website I need you to go to in order to join my email list. So when you go to my website, on the first page of the website, scroll all the way to the bottom, and you'll see the option to insert your email list. Very, very, very important. That'll be one of the ways we'll contact you with certain things that we got going on. You'll be informed about stuff ahead of time. And sometimes, we don't do this a lot now, but hopefully my team will start doing this more. I'm going to have them do this more to let you all know sometimes when I do go live. So this is a way we can stay in touch, okay? Outside of these different platforms. We utilize these platforms because this is where you are. But we don't just utilize just these individual platforms. My message is seated in multiple platforms and networks. Talk black to me, somebody. Thank you for understanding that. Now listen to this very brief clip of Michelle Obama expressing fear about Trump taking office and Joe Biden losing.
Is concerned. She says she's terrified, her word, terrified about the election. Listen to this.
Listen.
What's going to happen in this next election? I am terrified about what could possibly happen because our leaders matter. Who we select, who speaks for us, who holds that bully pulpit. It affects us in ways that sometimes I think people take for granted.
Very strong.
Okay, Miss Michelle Obama. Let's rock this real quick. What she said there is absolutely true when she says that who speaks for us and who holds that bully pulpit is important. She's right. But how many of you all remember when I broke down to you in No Limit of Time that when her husband was in office, he was not only against Black folks getting reparations, he actively used his time in the White House to campaign against it, to speak against it. And when he was confronted by it, after acknowledging that all of the disparities that Black folks experience in the United States are directly and indirectly affected to chattel slavery, to Jim Crow, to Black codes and other such discriminatory acts, codes, and system structures in this country, he still made an excuse to justify why we helped the white Germans in their Holocaust. We helped give them reparations. We sent money across the waters, Black soldiers across the waters to fight for them. He justified that. He justified when the world came together and instituted a Marshall Plan that after the world engaged in a world war, the world sent their best to rebuild the very land they fought in. He made justifications for that. Obama went so far to say that another reason why Americans shouldn't have to pay reparations is because he said that young Asians and young Hispanics are going to say, why should they pay reparations? Because they didn't have nothing to do with that. Obama literally said that. Check out his interview he did with Ta-Nehisi Coates in the Atlantic piece. That piece is written in a scripted form. He literally said that. So I'm bringing this up to tell you that when her husband was in office, We know that there was economic problems before he got into office, but it went to a whole other level with the 2007, 2008 Great Recession. Her husband, moved by the white globalist, oversaw the largest loss of wealth that Black Americans had seen in modern history under him. Do you know that during the Great Recession, we had so many new homeowners, all this kind of stuff, and many of our people, we lost some of the greatest wealth. That was the largest wealth loss that most Black folks had experienced in recent history. And a lot of that is attributed to Obama because he refused to have the proper enforcement with Wall Street to ensure that they renegotiated modification deals with these homeowners. Obama had a whole lot of slick talking with his slick mouth, calling Black protesters basically criminals and other names when they were out there protesting white supremacy. He had a whole lot of mouth for us, but he didn't have that same mouth when it came down to the real Wall Street gangsters, because he didn't put none of them behind bars. The Wall Street gangsters rigged the economic system in such a sophisticated and complex way that your weak government with their ignorant, silly selves were so ignorant with the game that they coerced and threatened certain folks that were in Wall Street to work for them so that they could even halfway understand the complex game and economic system that they rigged. Because they were so sophisticated in the way they rigged it, they went to Obama, Wall Street executives and high-level entities, to tell him and prognosticate to his administration how much worse the economy was definitely going to get if they didn't bail them out. How many of you remember the Wall Street bailout? Never mind, these Wall Street gangsters were going behind the scenes to get direct funding from the Federal Reserve to the tune of trillions of dollars prior to Wall Street, a Great Recession, 2007, 2008. But because of their greed, they demanded of the government. They rigged the system. They made it so complex on how they rigged the system. They went to the White House and threatened them, and the White House bowed the knee. One of the greatest wealth transfers of all times. And when you do the research, you would find that Black folks lost more wealth than anybody during that time. And more low-level Black folks and entities and individuals were targeted. And Obama had all that slick mouth against his own people. But they dog-walked him from Wall Street, the real gangsters, and used your very Black taxpayer dollars in part to bail them out. I got to remind you all of that. All of that was under Obama. So while he's telling you hell no for reparations, when he's telling you Asians and Hispanics shouldn't have to pay for that for you, when he uses that time to justify why we gave reparations for people that weren't even in America, he spent his time letting you know what you don't deserve. He spent his time when Black folks was catching hell because he got in office and they was killing us even more. We was catching hell because of him. He disrespected us. Watch this. Listen to Michelle Obama one more time.
For is concerned, she says she's terrified, her word, terrified about the election. Listen to this.
What's going to happen in this next election? I am terrified about what could possibly happen because our leaders matter. Who we select, who speaks for us, who holds that bully pulpit. It affects us in ways that sometimes I think people take for granted.
Including her. So she can't play dumb like she don't know what it meant for her husband to look Black and not actually, in essence, be Black. She has no excuse because they didn't use their bully pulpit to do something specifically for Black folks. He used his political capital to do something for everybody else. So don't you forget she said it. But what I want you to see is the psychology here. Wolf Blitzer starts this segment by saying her being alarmed. Listen to those words. When she speaks, you hear her say she's quote unquote terrified. When I looked at an article, of course, you can always see clips. That clip is about 5 minutes. I'm going to let you listen to something else that CNN panel said. But I don't want you to miss. I had the piece sitting up here. Here it is. I want you to see some more, a little bit more of what she actually conveyed. This is a piece, whoops, from USA Today. Michelle Obama reveals she's terrified about potential results of the 2024 election. Of course, it quotes her as it quotes what you just heard her say when she says about our leaders matter, who we select, who speaks for us, who holds that bully pulpit. It affects us in ways that sometimes I think people take for granted. Obama said that as part of Jay Shetty's On Purpose podcast released Monday, adding, I'm terrified about what could possibly happen. The fact that I want you to listen to this part because this is the clip doesn't show this. I mean, the clip that I just showed you doesn't show this. The fact that people think that the government does it really even do anything? This is her saying, this is a quote. And I'm like, oh my God, does government do everything for us? And we cannot take the democracy for granted. Obama said, and I worry sometimes that we do. Those are the things that keep me up. Well, first of all, ain't nothing keeping her up. They're not up. Whenever you hear a politician tell you the stuff that keep them up at night, that's a trick because they want you to think that they're human like you. These are things to appeal to your senses and say stuff like, this keeps me up at night. When they use terms like terrified, this is a scare tactic. They're not trying to appeal to your logic. Them going logical with you is dangerous. Why, Vicki? Because if you start thinking logic, you will know that under her husband's administration, more Black folks was dying and more Black folks lost wealth. And as she's talking about when Trump was in office, no, it wasn't fun. I don't want Trump in office. My criticism of the Democrats is not because we want Trump in office. We're just simply trying to tell you there's not a distinction in the white supremacist political party. Did you catch that? What we're trying to say is anybody that's telling you to vote this one over that one, and neither one of them has a specific pro-Black plan, they're a fraud is what we're telling you. Did you catch that? They want you to believe that the Democrats are not racist. They want you to believe that the Democrats are harmless. They are not. They're the most dangerous. Have the Democrats agreed to give Black folks reparations? When we were under lockdown and Black folks was losing businesses left and right, and so was the rest of the country, under what administration was that under? Who exacerbated that? We know Trump, the COVID started under him. He was doing some stupid and crazy stuff too. But I'm saying, who took it to the next level with these outrageous mandates? Who was telling you to do booster 1, booster 2, booster 10? Who told you at first that when you get it, it's going to stop and slow down transmission? They turn around and change it and say, oh, no, it ain't going to. You can keep transmitting it and you can still get it. Who told Black women in particular, when they first started to complain that they were having issues with their cycles and all this kind of stuff, that was just in their own little minds? Now we prove it in no limit of time. At first they said, oh, wash your hands. And then they realized, oh, let's stop doing that. Then everything went from natural stuff to just take the shots. Then they told you, don't even go outside to get no sun. Then they shut down all the gyms and told you, don't even get no exercise. They told us not to go to the parks to get sun. They say don't go for walks. What sickness, illness, disease, even if your mama and grandmama and grandpa pays the pharmaceutical industry a whole lot of money, even though they're on prescription drugs for all kind of other reasons, they still tell them to couple that with going for a walk and getting some sun. You knew something was up when they said don't even go outside. You knew something was up when they stopped talking about washing your hands and cleaning your house. For about 5 minutes, we even agreed to wear the mask. But when we realized you started pushing that shot and said, is this or nothing? That was under the Democrats, is what I'm trying to get you to see. So when they tell you how your world is going to go to hell, I got to remind you, Black family, it's the Democrats that's conducting this war and murdering the Palestinian peoples and assisting Israel in genocide. It's the Democrats, the Democratic administration now. We know previous administrations did the same thing, but your Democrats are the one that promised. They're the ones that act like they like you. It's them that gave white Afghans and white Ukrainians legal and illegal immigrant stuff. It was them. It was a Democrat administration when Biden took office that gave the Asian community in 1 year's time. The Asian AAPI community said they was experiencing racism. So your Democrat president, your Democrat Senate, and your Democrat House of Representatives came together and passed overwhelming legislation with the Republican Party to give them legal protections. And without the need for Republicans, your Democrats redirected $50 million that was already in the government in 1 year's time during COVID. How is it in 1 year's time the Asian community got legal protections and $50 million under the Democrats? I'm asking a question. Thank you all for your beautiful compliments. This is not us endorsing the Republicans. This is not us endorsing Trump, saying we want white supremacist Trump in office. We're just telling you that it is a lie from the Democrats to act like that the Republicans are going to be worse when we see them conducting a consistent war against Black Americans here in the United States. It is the Democrats that's conducting geopolitical war around the world. And it's the Democrats that's against us having reparations here. It's the Democrats in Chicago that changed the rules for Black folks to show up to political meetings. The Democrats told us that the Republicans are racist because they said that we need to show our ID to vote, right? It was your Democrat Republicans in Chicago that changed the rules so that Black folks could stop showing up in such large numbers, getting so much attention and holding their government accountable. They changed the rules in Chicago that says in order for y'all to attend the meetings, you had to have a government issue ID. You had to register in advance so that they can do research on you before you got there. That policy ended up changing because this governmental agency, in part, exposed them and told them that they are likely to do what they did was illegal. It's the Democrats that's trying to foil Black folks' efforts to shut down sanctuary cities because the overwhelming number of people that's against sanctuary cities are Black and other melanated people. Did y'all know that? They're turning around, Democrats, calling their most faithful and loyal voting bloc racist because you are calling them out for putting money in the hands of people that violated federal law to get here. They made sure they have money and housing and vouchers. And now we know health care, but not us. These are the Democrats. George Bush was considered at the time the worst president in modern history. And they mostly called him a war criminal because of that, right? Who's the war criminals now, family? So when they keep trying to tell you it's going to be so much worse under the Republicans, I got to get us. See, this is the reason why they can't afford to deal with you logically. So they start talking about fear tactics, scare tactics. They start saying, this keep me up at night. Isn't that what she said? They start saying, I'm terrified. Did y'all hear what I just said? Your life is already hell, and it's hell under them. Everybody hit that thumbs up button, please. Share, share, share. If you're just tuned in, be sure to watch the entire broadcast, okay? By the way, family, for those of you that have been asking, you can still join the Vicki Dillard Mystery School. That's my monthly mastermind school. Everybody is going crazy. I just released my first new mastermind school, my mastermind lecture a few days ago, January 2nd, on my 45th birthday. By the way, that's all it costs every month to join. And it was even less than that for a few minutes when I gave basically half off to a large group of people that were willing to join for the first few days. Your life will never be the same. I'm giving you the sacred, secret, spiritual codes that's going to transform your entire life and prepare you to become the next new world rulers. I just asked for 12 months. And for you to activate those principles that I teach you. Click the link in the that's pinned above. That's my website at vickiplanet.com. Listen. It says, without naming the former president, Donald Trump, or other leaders, Obama also says she believes that the tone and tenor of messages matter among the nation's leaders. That's important. Listen to this quote again. She said, and the article makes clear she was referring to Trump, even without saying his name. She said the quote, tone and tenor of messages matter among the nation's leaders. She said, we can't just say what the first thing comes to our minds. This is not authenticity to me. That's childish. And we see childish leadership right before us. What that looks like and how that feels, where somebody is just base and vulgar and cynical in a leadership position. Let me tell you how sick and twisted that is. Do you know what she's saying when she says that? That's like some of you that says, I would rather have somebody like Joe Biden, who gives Black Foundation Americans the middle finger and refuses to give us reparations. Joe Biden, after he secured the presidency 2 months before he took the oath of office, was humiliated by Bones and Biscuits. Drickle, your gift is blessed 1,000-fold. Joe Biden cussed out Black folks in their Zoom meeting. Did y'all know that? He was forced to meet with those Black bone and biscuit leaders. And when I say that, I'm talking about those Black folks, those Reverend Al Sharpton's NAACP Urban League type individuals that helped to get Joe Biden in office, even though he keeps disrespecting us. And even though he promises to do nothing specific for us. They shame us and tell us to get our butts to the polls. Those people that helped to get him elected. What did Joe Biden stop doing as soon as the votes came in? How many of y'all remember? Reverend Al Sharpton, NAACP, Urban League, couldn't even get a meeting with them. So what did the Bones and Biscuits do? Al Sharpton and others went to MSNBC and other major platforms and started to shame him and Kamala Harris, saying how we helped to get them elected, and now they're not even answering our calls. You a disgusting sellout. To where they did all that, shaming Black folks, hustling and bustling like good slaves to get him in office, only for them 5 minutes later not to even return their calls. They were so humiliated that the most faithful Aunt Jemimas, the most faithful Uncle Ruckuses, took to mainstream media to embarrass them. So Joe Biden was forced to meet with them, him and Kamala Harris, over Zoom. Y'all did all that to rally all of American Blacks to the polls. We told you he was good for nothing. And 5 minutes later, after he used you up, he wouldn't even return y'all's call. So out of public humiliation and a pressure campaign, he said, okay. God, I have to meet with the niggers, the ninjas and the niggers, the niggers and the ninjas. Kamala. He didn't call her Kamala. Kamala. Get the linebacker. Get Simone. Get the Aunt Jemima that ran in front of the non-dairy, non-violent protester to save my life and broke a nail for me during the campaign. Get the linebacker, for God's sake, and set up the Zoom. Send the links out. Make sure Sharpton is there. And the rest of the ninjas, I mean the rest of the constituents. Talk black to me, somebody. I said, talk black to me, somebody. Make sure the linebacker's involved in the Zoom call. We got to give her stuff to do. She still thinks that we're going to make her press secretary. But let's get her involved in that. So he met with him by Zoom. He literally used a cuss word during his conversation with them. And that is when he said that America is doomed because of black folks and because white folks are going to be the minority come 2024. Don't forget, prior to that, he dog walked Charlemagne the God to his face. When Charlemagne the God interviewed him while he was campaigning, before he became president, he told Charlemagne to his face that if black folks are confused about voting for him versus Donald Trump, that we ain't black. How many of y'all remember that? Charlemagne was so weak in that interview, didn't even know what to say. That's how y'all know y'all doing that. Them Diddy party stuff. Y'all got that energy on you when you let a white man tell you that you ain't black if you don't vote for him. You law, Vicki Dillard is gorgeous. She got my eyes bucking. Thank you, precious. Isn't it outrageous? Joy Reid didn't do a hit piece on that. Joy Reid did not do back-to-back videos on this man in recent history. Not his other direct anti-black racist stuff he said. The stuff he said in recent history when he said America is doomed because of black folks. When he told you before he won the election that you ain't black if you don't vote for him. So Michelle Obama is sitting here telling you that all the other leaders like Trump was childish and the tone in which they speak. So if Trump uses a cuss word, but Biden smiles, but he's still helping to kill Palestinians. Long as the tone is good, that's all right. Y'all see how sick and twisted that is? You see how stupid your leadership is? When they tell you the way in which you say something is worse than the results. This is why they don't want you to think logically, because you're going to start saying stuff like I'm saying. So instead, they start using scare tactics that appeal to your psyche by saying that they're terrified and they stay up at night and that they're alarmed. The thing you got to understand is those scare tactics don't scare us anymore. That's not working, Michelle Obama. How many of you all remember when Michelle Obama wrote her book? Before that, when her husband was running for office, how many of you all remember Obama on multiple occasions denounced Minister Farrakhan, pressured by Hillary Clinton one time, publicly during the debate? How many of y'all remember that? Obama kept denouncing Minister Farrakhan because white folks kept telling him to do it. The white Democrats kept telling him to do it, so he kept doing it. I said it was the white Democrats. I said it was the white Democrats that told him to denounce black people. Who else did he denounce? His own black pastor who married him and Michelle Obama, Reverend Jeremiah Wright, who has a stellar history in America for AIDS and on the global stage for helping the world. How many of y'all remember me discussing what she did? Some of y'all said they had to do it because of politics and to stay in the office. No, they didn't have to do it. It shows that they're not people of integrity. Let me tell you something. The deep state, as some of you call it, and the globalists and the neocons, the anti-Black oppressive forces, they don't want a Black man like Obama having the getting counsel. Can you imagine? From Minister Farrakhan and Jeremiah Wright. Remember, it was speculated that he was going to make Pastor Jeremiah Wright put him over that little religious council or something. Can you all imagine? Obama took the advice of Hillary Clinton, who's accurately known as Killary Clinton. She's known first as Killary Clinton because of her anti-Black predatory statement that helped to undo the lives of Black folks, with where her husband helped to push legislation. She did her job as First Lady by calling Black folks, Black young men in particular, super predators. She made us look like animals. Who was that? Democrat. So Obama listened to her advice, put her in the State Department, made her Secretary of State. And what did she do as Secretary of State, family? All the globalists got in his ear. Obama is the one that started to put pressure on the African continent to tell them that if they don't embrace LGBTQ, that America was going to start. They were starting to threaten them to cut off economic assistance. That was the United States. Obama went to Kenya and got in a press conference with the former President Kenyatta. President Kenyatta made a fool of Obama in front of the whole world during a press conference in Africa when they tried to come over there and tell them, you better embrace LGBTQ or else. Former President Kenyatta was very elegant when he shut him down and said, that ain't no issue over here, sir. What else did America do? What else did Hillary Clinton do? In the same spirit of her trying to destroy Black folks as First Lady to help her husband. Signed the 94 crime bill, written by Joe Biden, mastermind Joe Biden, signed into law by Clinton. Democrats. Hillary Clinton in the State Department is the one that helped to talk Obama into killing, assassinating, murdering Gaddafi. Now, if you don't know, Libya is in Africa. And regardless to his quirks, Gaddafi was trying to meet with the AU, which is the African Union, which is a large block of most of the African states, made up about 54 African states, give or take. Gaddafi was the one that was willing to put some of the gold behind it and put resources behind it to shut down America. They was pissed off at the economic rise of Africa if he were to get involved and they started to redirect resources and oil and all that. People mock Gaddafi, but do you know Gaddafi made sure that all of his citizens had a house? When people said, why do you live in the condition that you live in? He didn't live in an extreme palace and all that. He made sure that the citizens were going to live well. Do you all know that under his leadership, that all of the citizen households got checks whenever they made money off of oil? Do you all know that they had a growing and refined hospital system? But in mainstream Western media, they tell us this man is a nut. They show him walking with women, military folk, and try to tell us. Remember that time they told us he likes Condoleezza Rice? She was doing them interviews talking about what do you think about the fact that Gaddafi he thinks this about you, child. This Vicki, get off of that. I was about to say something about Condoleezza, funny looking self. Mainstream media played that up, but they made you think that this man was a nut. No, they didn't want him empowering Africa that had an economy backed by gold. that would have shaken up the entire Federal Reserve System that's mostly backed by the American dollar. And what did Hillary Clinton do when they managed to murder and when they committed a high-level war crime before the world? How many of y'all remember she went on live television and bragged about it? Obama let this white woman play him like that. So we're not going to listen to nothing you got to say to us, Michelle Obama, when you use the bully pulpit, your husband, to talk against reparations and to tell young Latinos and Asians, giving them talking points to say what they got to do with slavery. Why should they have to pay? You passed a law for the LGBTQ community that nobody's been able to do, Obama, but you couldn't do that for us. Talk black to me, somebody. Family, these are not doctored pictures. These are not doctored pictures, and it speaks volumes. Not just a picture. Why am I showing you that? How many of you all know when Michelle Obama and them left the White House, she wrote a book called Becoming? How many of y'all remember that? I ain't gonna never stop talking about that. She wrote a book called Becoming. And when she went on a book tour, she gave a big interview to George Bush's daughter, because George Bush's daughter works on one of these mainstream media outlets. Do you know what Michelle Obama was saying when she went on tour for her book? In her book, she lets George Bush off the hook for war crimes. But in that same book, she attacks Reverend Jeremiah Wright. Y'all be sure to hit that thumbs up button and share, share, share. Make sure that everybody that's coming here, be sure to subscribe and hit receive all notifications, family. How many of y'all know that? When she went on tour, she actually said out of her mouth during her book tour that she has a lot in common with the Bushes. Did y'all hear what I said? She has a lot in common with the Bushes. I need y'all to think about that. Now, at the time, listen, I love this piece by Oberry M. Hendricks Jr. in Michelle Obama's book. This article breaks down some of the problematic things that she said about Reverend Jeremiah Wright. You got to ask yourself, what Black woman has left the White House? She's buddies with, at the time, one of the most despised war criminals, George Bush of all times. But she's bragging about George Bush. She lets him off in her book, but she uses her book to attack a Black man, Reverend Wright, who was right. Listen, don't forget, what did I tell you early on? Remember, Hillary Clinton made her husband denounce Minister Farrakhan before the world during a debate. Remember that? And they kept pressuring him to do it more and more and harder and harder. Obama had already distanced himself. But he didn't distance himself hard enough. That's from the dictionary, not the dictionary. He didn't distance himself hard enough. He didn't dog Minister Farrakhan hard enough because a Democrat white Zionist said you didn't denounce him hard enough. Then he turned around and denounced his own pastor. Watch what this piece makes clear. The writer of this article exposes Michelle Obama's book and talk about why it's problematic as it relates to what she said about Reverend Wright. Some of you that know me know I've been talking about this for years, but I've got to start making new records of stuff because I don't want you to forget who these Obamas are. When our brother wrote this piece, he says this. Y'all listening? I'm talking to intelligent people. Love is Brave says, wow, that's deep, deep. Yes, baby, I'll do that sometime. The former First Lady of the United States, Michelle Obama, recently published Becoming, a remarkable memoir that's a best-selling book of the season. Y'all know she broke all kind of records with that book, right? And she certainly appealed to her number one client, which was white women, like okra. Watch this. Now, don't get me wrong. I believe in taking all their money. But I'm not finna sit here and sell my soul to you to get it. Don't ever get that twisted. We believe in taking all of Gretchen and Karen's money. Don't ever get me twisted. Because it's all mine anyway. I should have it. There ain't never no problem taking that money. But I'm not finna throw my people under the bus to get it, silly. Listen. Listen. He says, I greatly enjoyed the book, but I admit that I am very troubled by her description of Jeremiah Wright. Listen, in her book, after they left the White House. So she could sell the book to white women so that she could still make the imperialist government of the United States look good and to dog a black man and make sure that it's on record in her book. She says ugly things about Reverend Jeremiah Wright, and she gives George Bush a break in her book. Listen, our brother says he was greatly troubled. He says, I was troubled by her description of Jeremiah Wright as a wild-eyed, out-of-touch extremist who is, quote, paranoid. That's a word she used in the book. She called him paranoid and, quote, careening through callous and inappropriate rage at white America. Listen to this quote from your girl, Michelle Obama. After she left the White House, she lets George Bush and all of the pro white supremacist entities and forces, pro-imperialist system, and his handlers off the hook. But she dogs the black man in her book. Listen, she says he's paranoid and, quote, careening through callous and inappropriate rage at white America. What black woman is going to write a book and calls the man that married her to her husband and baptized her children, call him paranoid, and then says careening through callous and inappropriate rage at white America? She dogged Reverend Wright for having righteous passion and calling out white supremacy. Do you all understand that the Obamas ain't on our side? For real? I don't care if you ski-wee out there in this piece. I don't care what other sorority or fraternity you connected to or religious system. You ninjas out here cannot defend her doing that. Listen. The brother breaks down just who in the hell Reverend Wright is. I've said this in times past, but I never know who's watching, and it's appropriate for me to review this. I don't just do media just because it's a hot topic. I do it because it's important and it's necessary to review stuff. Family, what president is this? Do you all recognize who this president is lying down having surgery? For the record, this is Jeremiah Wright. I'm going to tell you why this image is important. This is Jeremiah Wright. Does anybody recognize what former president of the United States this is? Who's this, family? Who's this? Don't forget, this is who? This is Jeremiah Wright. Listen, let me help you. Keep that picture in mind. Keep that image in mind, okay? Who out here talking about this Eisenhower? Listen. The Reverend Jeremiah Wright Jr. is the son of a highly respected Old Line, Philadelphia minister, and vice principal of a high school. Y'all listen. Yeah, most of you all got it right, but whoever said Eisenhower, baby, that ain't it. Bless your heart. Listen. An ex-U.S. Marine who volunteered for the armed forces. He served as a trained cardiopulmonary technician for 6 years. On Wright's office wall hangs a framed photograph of him monitoring the vital signs of President Lyndon Johnson during one of Johnson's 2 surgeries while president. While he was president, Reverend Jeremiah Wright, former U.S. Marine, is overseeing the vital signs. This is who she's calling paranoid and disrespecting, talking about his rage was inappropriate against white America. You know she was pandering to them Beckies that she wanted to buy that book. The only way she could sell that book is if she made her own people look bad. They hated Minister Farrakhan. They hated Reverend Wright when they went into office, so she had to attack one of them in order to sell them books after she left the White House. Not war criminal George Bush. No, she's cuddly with George Bush. And by the way, Barack Obama gave George Bush I a Medal of Honor during his reign. George Bush, who's heavily a part of the CIA at one time before he became vice president, then president, who was responsible in part for the crack cocaine craziness that was going on, the shady stuff that the CIA was doing. That's who her husband gave an award to. Just FYI. Listen, that was a side note. That's Reverend Wright that y'all saw there, monitoring the vital signs, right, of Lyndon Johnson during one of his 2 surgeries as president. Hanging beside it is a personal post-operation letter from Johnson thanking Wright for his role in Johnson's medical care. Here is the picture of the letter that former President Johnson gave to Reverend Wright. So is this man regular who was trusted to monitor this man's vital sign during one of 2 major surgeries while he was the president of the United States? This is who she's attacking. What does it say about the Obamas? Listen, I know I talked about this for years, but I got to remind some of y'all because y'all like to play dumb. Listen, some of our people, not all y'all. Don't get offended. That's not all. I love to say this part about Reverend Wright. He is not the crazed radical that some have portrayed him to be. He is a brilliant, erudite man. He speaks 7 languages. Michelle. He holds 4 earned academic degrees, including a doctorate in ministry. At the prestigious University of Chicago Divinity School, he completed all the requirements for the PhD except his dissertation, which he put aside in 1975. Why? To devote all his time to his pastorate of Trinity United Church of Christ on the south side of Chicago. Beginning with 87 active members, by the time Wright retired in 2007, he had built a vibrant congregation of some 8,000 members with more than 60 ministries serving the church and its surrounding community. By the way, if you know anything about that particular denomination, you would know that there are many white parishioners. Just want to throw that out there. These include ministries for HIV/AIDS care, drug and alcohol recovery, hospice care, senior citizens health care and housing, 2 separate residences, a child care program, which was federally funded, a reading program for the poor, and 22 ministries for the youth. For the full 36 years of his Trinity pastorate, Wright was what could be best described as a servant leader. It says, unlike most mega church pastors, he knew most of his members and congregation by name and made himself fully accessible to them, including sharing his personal email address with the entire congregation. He rose at 4 a.m. to respond to every one of his parishioners' emails, questions, concerns, and needs, no matter how small. It goes on to talk about a whole lot of other stuff, but I wanted you to hear a few things about him. He was on the AIDS tip before it was popular to be on the AIDS tip. So because he was known for calling out domestic and international crimes of the United States and their anti-Blackness, their racism, and all forms of other oppression, they distanced themselves from him. And she called him a callous man, dealing with inappropriate rage against white America after she left the White House to sell them books. And let the white war criminals like George Bush off the hook, and then told the world while she on tour that she got a lot in common with them, the Bushes. I always like to remind folks of these types of nuances in case you ever get it twisted when they start talking about who we ought to vote for. It is not because we're for Trump and everybody is wanting Trump to be office in Black America now. No, silly. We're telling you we don't see the white supremacist political system any different. And our votes are for sale. So whichever side is willing to do the most specifically for Black folks, that's who we're going to negotiate with. Shalom, divine order. She said from Chicago. I got a beautiful, large Chicago following. I love my Chicagoans. This is what I want y'all to know. So because the globalists, Roro, your gift is blessed 1,000-fold. Because the globalists didn't want, I'll put this in here for those that is asking, what was this point I was getting ready to make? I just put my cash up in there for those that asked. For those that's wondering, we're not going to just be looking at her beautiful muscles, which I think is extraordinary. Her biceps, her beautiful melanated skin. And Obama sitting up here talking about amazing grace. Those things don't trick us anymore. You talking about you terrified. No, Michelle, we terrified now, sis. When under a Democratic regime, y'all shut down the whole country and y'all forced all of us, you was trying to mandate all of us to take them shots. We lost more wealth under your husband. He dogged us out and did not lock up the real Wall Street gangsters. Michelle, your husband fought against reparations. Man, we're not going to be tricked. And y'all keep standing with all the people that's killing the rest of the world in genocide. Y'all still buddies with the globalists. You're still buddy with them. Those are your people. You understand George Bush 1 and 2. You respect Hillary Clinton. You elevated Joe Biden. Y'all know how many times Joe Biden ran for president and never, ever could win? He gave up. It was Obama that made him vice president that put him in a position to even do what he's doing now. He resurrected the white supremacists. Don't let them trick you by using your emotions to pull you in. Use your logic and remind them of the facts. And you let the Democrats know, if you want our vote, you're going to have to earn it. And it's got to be a strong economic and political agenda specifically for our people. And that's that, Michelle. Michelle, you and the Democrats don't have to find tricks to get us to come to the polls. We told you exactly what you need to do to get us there, but you are hard-headed. And it's not just that you're hard-headed. It's that you have bought and sold your soul to people that really run the government that ain't the president. You're being moved by the agenda of what some call deep state forces. So that's why y'all ain't giving us what we told you to give us, reparations. By the way, it's not a gift. It's a debt you owe. Reparations is a debt. There's so much more I can say, but we're not going to be moved by these tricks, Michelle. Lom, League of Mammy member, Chief League of Mammy member. God, she ain't just no regular League of Mammy. She the top notch. God, today. She's the avant-garde, baby. She ain't just no regular member. Front line. Lom. That ain't gonna work, Michelle Obama. With all due respect, this ain't nothing personal. This is about business. So we don't need any Democrats coming with any contingency plans or alternative plans and other things that they telling us that they want scare tactics and other. No, Ninja, we'll show up in droves when you push what we tell you to push. It's too late for all that, lady. I love you all so much, family. Again, those of you that want to join the Vicki Dillard Mystery School, my new mastermind school, it's absolutely changing lives. The people are loving their first lecture. You get one of those every month, plus bonus stuff. You'll find out what the bonus stuff is in the upcoming days, but you got to join. It's only $45 now. It was even much less than that for the first few days. Some people benefited from that lower price. Your life will never be the change, never be the same. I'm raising up the new world shakers and history makers. Give me 12 months to transform your life if you activate the rituals and the information that I tell you to do. I love you so much. I'm your sister with the curly braids, Vicki Dillard. So pleased that you're with me today. Again, I know some of you are used to seeing me on other networks and channels, but I'm here now on my own channel weekly, but you'll still be able to catch some of my content on other platforms, and some that you're used to seeing me on, you won't see me on, and others, programming information will be coming in due course. I love you all so much. Thank you for your beautiful compliments. All of you that gave to the Cash App, your gifts are blessed 1,000-fold. Again, I'll put it in the chat one more time. I don't have any of my moderators with me today. There you go. When I click off here, all you have to do is just either rewind back or screenshot so that you can see what it is. Just know that your gifts are blessed 1,000-fold. You are my bliss. I love you back, Rahman. I love you. I love you back. Thank you all so much. Your gifts are blessed 1,000-fold, and I can't wait to see you again.